If you attend any kind of videography or film class of any kind that's worth its weight, you'll start learning that 24p is an outdated frame rate, and quite honestly, we need to ditch it, frankly. There are so many people that just got pissed off by that statement, but frankly, I don't care. I get so annoyed with I'm going to just throw it out there, the older generation putting out that we don't have to change the film standard and it needs to stay the way it is forever. These are the same people that kind of are of the belief that child abuse, there's nothing wrong with it. Spare the rod, spoil the child, beating the hell out of your kid establishes character, that kind of thing. These are the same exact people that just create clones of themselves in the form of younger people with those same outdated mindsets. They're probably the people covered in grease every day and thinking that makes you more of a man than sitting down and talking to your family and building character that way. I'm just putting it out there. There is a whole generation of toxic assholes out there that really believe that white t-shirts, blue jeans, and child abuse equates to a quality of life and good people in the world. And those same people are found in the AV community. And they believe that 24p and the old way of doing things don't need to change. They're kind of like that one really stubborn old guy that you see on an episode of Hoarders, thinking that, well, I've been doing this for 25 years and I don't see anything wrong with it. There ain't nothing wrong with it. You're the first person to say something's wrong with it. And these kind of people are a problem. And they always are a problem. They're the first to be mouthy in society, the first to think that they can get away with anything. I don't need to go on some long-winded rant about the generation of older people that really don't want to change because that's just the way things have been. Let's talk a little bit of hidden history behind 24p. The reality is the only reason that movies were shot in 24p back in the day was because it was expensive to get film, and 24p, 24 was cheap, right? The 24 millimeter film, it was very cheap to get the full 35 millimeters that you needed. It was so expensive to do back then. And it was something that everybody adopted because, hell, if you could get a look that was acceptable back then and save some money, that's what they were going to do. And people did that. And they've never moved on from that. And because it was just done as a cost-cutting measure, and that was literally it. Everybody has just adopted it and accepted it in the film industry. And hell, after a while, it became dubbed the look of film, but it was never supposed to be some look. When those people back then picked it up, they weren't going for a look. They were just simply trying to save some money on production. And it pisses me off that you have a lot of old guys bringing that same BS back into modern era. Here we are with TVs capable of up to 120 hertz, and we will probably never even get that because they're sitting here holding on to their VHS close to the chest for dear life, really refusing to change anything about the old, outdated standards. The same thing can be seen when we look at the calibration world, when we look at all of these annoyingly snobbish image purists talk about desaturated colors like Rec 709 being ideal on a 10-bit display for SDR content, even though I have personally not only put the information out there to thousands upon thousands of people that it can be better, and people have seen those results, but also personally seen those results myself, debunking that entirely. You do not need to stick to 16 million shades of color on a 10-bit display. It is so stupid to do that because all you're doing is washing out your screen and keeping it locked back to the prior generation. But this goes in line with the same person that wants low frame rates and calls anything that is realistic motion cheap TV. These are the people. They get so angry anytime a movie is shot at anything but 24p because they won't let go of the old ways. And so when you're watching people that try to fluff up industry standards, it's literally an old dog that can't learn new tricks. And those people are the most closed-minded, backwards way of thinking individuals in our society. And if it were up to them, we would still be in caves wearing loincloths, man hunt, bring back food, woman lay home, make baby. Like these are the people. These are exactly the people that you will find with those backwards ways of thinking. Because the reality is when you start introducing concepts like change, technological advance, modern science, they reject it entirely because why? I've been doing this for the last 30, 40 years. I enjoy it. I love it. There's nothing wrong with this. But again, that is not the way technology works. And my point for making this video is to really kind of shine a light on those really like knuckle-headed people that always have an argument for movies were shot that way, so that's the way they ought to look. That's bullshit. They were shot that way because it was a cheap cost-cutting method from the past in the olden days that carried over into modern generations because of old dogs like you that don't want to learn new tricks. That's the only reason 24p is still viable in 2021. The amount of motion judder that correlates with 24p is ridiculous, and there's no amount of 3-2 pull down that will fix that. In fact, if you do it right now, freeze a frame. You're always going to see motion blur in 24p. It's terrible motion blur. And that is something that translates into actual content and panning shots. And again, 60 FPS fixes all that stuff. I would love to see movies in 60 FPS. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Some people need to start training their eyes and getting used to seeing something better than just juddery old frame rates. But hey, let's say you never wanted to do that. There's a feature called Soap Opera Effect, and a lot of these same guys are coming out trying to attack Soap Opera Effect as some sort of antichrist and some horrible thing that needs to go away because it's fake cheap motion. We don't like anything smooth and fluid. Give us judder. Give us film grain. Listen, if that's your preference, you're one of those old dogs that need to learn a new trick. It's 2021. We have TVs going up to 120 hertz. It's about damn time that some things start to get modernized, and the only reason they're not is because people don't like progress. And that's just as real as it gets. Now, if I have offended you, that is not the aim of this video, but it was inevitable, so I do apologize. I'm not trying to trigger anybody or upset anyone. But what I am trying to do is explain that the industry standards that everybody holds on to are only standardized because of things relevant in a prior generation. For example, everyone that has ever said anything negative about using BT 2020 on a 10-bit display knows nothing of television, knows nothing about how to actually adjust a picture. I am literally a professional photographer that dabbles in cinematography, that dabbles in being a colorist, and I can tell you, if you try to just remotely take a 709 content, put it into something like DaVinci Resolve, there are features now, modern science, that these people apparently don't even know anything about, called color space transforms, where you can literally take a Rec 709 and you can convert it into a different color space to get a different look. There are so many options to improve SDR, and none of them are being used because of these old dogs in the AV community that don't want to learn a new trick. You can even force a Rec 709 content piece to be BT 2020 or as close to that, because the problem is when you have a limited color space like Rec 709, all you're doing is seeing the limited outdated colors that we had back with HD TV. But again, if you just force it into something higher, dial back the saturation, you're going to be seeing a much better image. And you know, if you don't believe me, take your TV right now, your Samsungs or whatever it is, and put it in the native versus the auto. I've had so many people recently do that after my recent BT 2020 video, and we're blown away. This entire time, every single person that just kind of leaves it in the default color space is doing themselves a disservice. So it makes total sense when some people watch my video and they're like, I have no idea what this guy's talking about. The picture quality is amazing. Well, these people are likely the same ones just leaving everything in default out of the box and using zero creativity, zero science, zero advancement into the film and photographic sciences that we've seen over the last, I don't know, decade at least at this point. They're not using anything that we have right now to take advantage of this stuff and improve this stuff. And honestly, when you talk about industry standards and 24p and all that stuff, it all needs to change. And it only starts when people start becoming aware that there is something outdated and there is something better for the standard that we have. And I would love to see SDR improve. There is no good reason why 10-bit SDR can't be every bit as vibrant as 10-bit HDR. It can be vibrant, it can be glorious, but it's not being allowed to be that way because we are told to set our TVs to outdated standards from 30 years ago. Let that sink in. Thanks for watching the #1 brand in honesty. And until the next video, I'll see you guys later.